This is the SB44-8 Demo box. I have an SB44-8 control module here. I also have some loads to demonstrate how this works. There's a tricolor setup here with these lights. There's some dummy lights here, and there's a single color flashing light. Down here I have a button to simulate a short on my 7th button to see how the system handles that situation. And there's some indicator lights down here for the low current outputs. The first button is the power button. It's going to turn off the backlighting as well as any other lights that are on. To wake up the system again, simply press any one of the buttons and it will wake up. If these lights were on, you can demonstrate how that will shut those off so that you can have a quick way to turn off your whole vehicle's lighting instead of having to press each button individually. Wake the system back up again. If I press button number 1, it's going to turn on this steady burn light here. Button number 2 is going to turn on this other steady burn blue light. And we'll show in a moment how the SB44-8 can be used to flash those steady burn lights. The next button is going to flash these 2 tricolor lights in the amber color. The next button is going to flash these 2 tricolor lights in the green color. The next button turns on the white function, which is steady burn currently. The next button turns on the single color DLIT 3. If I press down this overcurrent button here, it's going to shut off that DLIT 3 because there's a short on it, and this button is going to flash indicating that the system detected a short. As soon as I remove that short, everything goes back to life. If I had other buttons illuminated at the same time and lights flashing, and I press my short, you can see that the one head that's affected has a short on it is going to turn off, and it's going to indicate still that there's a short. But all the other lights will continue to function. This way your whole system doesn't go down. So it's basically like having a fuse on each one of these buttons, except it's an automatically resetting fuse. So if the short goes away, you fix the problem, you don't have to replace the fuse. The last button here is a low current output. So it indicates on here PB8+. So that is putting out a positive output on that button. We can program that to be negative as well. The easiest way to reprogram the options is to use the app. You can also reprogram it by pressing a button sequence on here and get all the same features and functions. If I go into my app and I press the first button, it's going to show me the options for that button. I'm going to change it to Control PB1 on button 1 instead of being a power button. Button 2, I'm going to change from being steady to flashing. And I'm going to leave it on phase 1. Button 3, I'm also going to change from steady to flashing, but I'm going to change it to phase 2. Going under other options, I can change my flash pattern for those outputs. I'm going to change it to fast double. Going under PB8, I'm going to change from positive side switch to ground side switch. Then I'm going to go and put my SB44-8 into phone programming mode by holding down the first button and then touching button labeled number 2. Then I'm going to find my flash on my phone and align it with the detector approximately. As I'm doing this, I can see that the third button there, labeled number 2, is flashing. That means everything seems to be working. Then you can see the amber lights there flash, meaning that it accepted the program. So we'll see what we changed. If I press this, you see the system doesn't turn off anymore. Instead, it turns on this output. So that's a low current output. It can be used to control an enable wire on a light bar. It could be used to control a relay to control a higher current. You can see if I press 1 and 2 that now they're flashing. So that's being controlled by the SB44-8. Those aren't normally flashing heads. If I press the end button here, I can see that the PB8- turns on. That means that this output is creating a ground side pull. So you can use that for anything that needs to be activated by ground, maybe a pattern select wire or a siren input. There's all kinds of other options you can change on here. Some example is the traffic director. So I'm going to turn on my traffic director function. You can see by pressing the 1 traffic director enable on the button 5 that it's also enabled button 6 to be right. So if I want to use the button 7 as a center out option, I'm just going to click on that. If your Smart Traffic Director doesn't have a center out, it just uses the left and right together to create center out, then you wouldn't need to do that. So then if I want to have warn as a traffic director function as well, I'll pull down that one. All right, so I'm going to go back into my programming mode. And I'm going to align my lights. So now if I press left, you can see the indications on here are going left. Press right, indications are going right. If I press center out, I get center out. And if I press warn, I get warn. Now of course I don't have a traffic director connected to here, so it's just putting out a power signal, and these lights are detecting them as just saying, hey, turn on. But if there was a traffic director on here, it would be doing the proper function.